Hi, this is Thomas from TBProAudio. In this video, I will introduce you to the new feature Custom Threshold of version 1.5. I will explain why Custom Threshold is a great feature, how to create custom thresholds, and show the possibilities using 3 examples. Why does DSEQ now need the custom threshold option? The dynamic EQs of DSEQ 1.0 work exclusively with a fixed threshold value. With the help of the slope parameter and the pre-filters, the effect of DSEQ can be adapted to the audio material. But it may be that the dynamic EQs in the spectrum area still work to different degrees, and thus deform the sound too much. With custom threshold, it is now possible to better adapt the threshold value of the dynamic EQs to the frequency spectrum of the input material, and thus better maintain the naturalness. So custom threshold turns DSEQ into a razor-sharp multiband compressor, polishing the spectrum surface with a very high flexibility and accuracy. Either reference audio files or the audio material that is currently being edited can be used as the threshold values for the dynamic EQs. I've prepared 2 drawings to illustrate the situation. In the first picture, we see the amplitude of the input signal plotted against the frequency and therefore the fixed threshold value. This is DSEQ 1.0 behavior. It is easy to see that the distance between the threshold and the frequency amplitude of the signal varies greatly. The higher the amplitude is above the threshold, the more the gain reduction is applied by DSEQ. In the second picture, we see the same input signal, now with custom threshold. Here, the distances are significantly smaller, and with it, the applied gain reduction. The originality of the raw material is much better preserved. Okay, let's explore the controls of custom threshold. The section Custom Threshold is located under the spectrum display. With the on-off switch, the custom threshold is activated or deactivated. To the right is the record switch. This allows a custom threshold to be generated while the DAW is playing. With the next control, a custom threshold can be created from an existing audio file. You can also drag and drop an audio file from Windows Explorer or Mac Finder to this control. Some DAWs support drag and drop from their internal media browser as well. If a custom threshold is available, the name of the audio file is displayed in the next control. And on the far right is the control to delete the current custom threshold. Let's look at the first example. It is a complete mix where we want to smooth everything a bit. First, we set DSEQ to the default settings. In order to be able to make a good A/B comparison, I switched on A/B-Lem Slow. Now we load the wave file we have here in the DAW as custom threshold in DSEQ. Then we set slope to 0, since the audio file has its own slope. Later, you can adjust the slope according to your taste. I'm going to adjust the attack and release parameters. I set the threshold to +30 so that DSEQ doesn't respond at first, and switch on custom threshold. Now I lower the threshold value by some dB to achieve a slight compression. And then I will check with the delta mode if everything goes well. Okay, this sounds pretty okay. The custom threshold is active across the entire spectrum. I would like to restrict this to some extent and hide the frequency ranges below 150 Hz and above 60 kHz. I use the general custom threshold preset with the slight adjustments. Now the pressure in the lower area is back. Please note that the song used is already well mixed. Therefore, the demonstration here could sound more drastic than it should be. Let's move on to the second example. Now I have a brief example of an acoustic guitar. Personally, the sound in the upper frequency range is too harsh. We will now reduce this somewhat. Here too we will work with custom threshold. To do this, we render the input signal in DSEQ. If we now move the threshold down, we see that the gain reduction is evenly distributed over the frequency spectrum, and the sound becomes increasingly balanced. We stop at threshold of 5 dB and check the result with the delta mode. In delta mode, we can easily adjust the threshold value. The interfering frequencies become quickly clear as the threshold decreases. But as soon as harmonic signals become more pronounced, we should stop and possibly add a few more dB again. Now we can finish the job with the low-cut pre-filter. Let's move on the third example. As a last example, I have a short excerpt with the singer.
Can't you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do.
DSEQ is switched off for now, and I've activated an EQ and compressor for editing. The low shelf filter attenuates the voice in the upper frequency range. And then there is the compressor, which reduces the signal by 6 dB.
Can't you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do.
We are now recording this processing with DSEQ.
Can't you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly I'm lost? That's why I'm following you.
Now we switch off the EQ and the compressor and let DSEQ do the work. We set the quality to high and the threshold to plus 15 dB. And we adjust the attack and release a bit and check again with the delta mode.
Can't you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly I'm lost? That's why I'm following you. Can't you see that you're leading me on? And it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly I'm lost? That's why I'm following you.
Okay, that was what I wanted to show you. Custom threshold is a really innovative feature that helps you to get the perfect result even faster and easier. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to ask any questions. Bye.